Okay, so it's now just after 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. UK time. A quick explanation about the video this morning that I made about King Bhumibol. That video was made as the news was developing, so nothing was quite clear. It has been announced now that King Bhumibol has passed away at the age of 88. He was the world's longest serving monarch, the world's longest serving head of state, having been on the throne since 1946. I made a slight mistake in the previous video, said 1948. It's actually 1946, which made him the world's longest serving monarch. That title now goes to our Queen Elizabeth II. Um, as expected, there has been scenes of really extravagant grief in Bangkok and in other parts of Thailand. There's no question about it. There is a sincere reverence for this king, but there are some very important questions, and I wonder will there be any journalists brave enough to ask these questions on mainstream media, Al Jazeera, and so on, Al Jazeera, BBC, etc. Journalists have to be very careful because this is a very sensitive time for Thailand, and the reason I'm saying that is not because I think morally they should be careful, but because I've had first-hand experience of what these royalists are capable of. Um, I don't want to get too much into the life of King Bhumibol and what sort of king he was. That's for the Thai people to decide, freely decide. Um, One thing that is very notable is that within the Thai constitution, that, as I understand it, came about from the 1932 revolution, which made Thailand a constitutional monarchy in theory. But in that constitution, it is enshrined that the monarchy is above criticism, literally, basically treated like gods on earth. So essentially, this is a personality cult. And already I'm seeing some very extreme responses from royalists, as I expected. There have been Thais speaking out and saying that this is misleading. Not every Thai loved King Bhumibol. Inevitably, they've been targeted with some very extreme threats. I don't even want to repeat the sort of threats I've been seeing. I'm not surprised. I'm saddened. I'm frustrated, but not surprised. I've been targeted in the past simply for defending Thais who have been persecuted. And it's easy for me to do in this country, but I have enormous respect for those extremely brave Thai dissidents who speak out. Um, the point of this video is not to talk about republicanism and monarchy. Like I say, that's for the Thai people to decide. I'm not necessarily anti-monarchy, but I am very pro free speech, and I think the 112 laws are an utter abomination. There was an analyst speaking on Al Jazeera, actually maybe in France 24, and he said that democracy takes time. Well, that's true. I agree with that. But what those Thais who claim that Thailand is a democracy need to understand is that Thailand will never be a democracy so long as 112 laws prevail. Now, the king himself, as I understand it, didn't necessarily approve of these laws. I don't know one way or the other. Ostensibly, he said he wasn't above criticism. Some Thai Republicans may disagree with me on that and say that he 100% supported the laws. It's complicated because, as a constitutional monarch, in theory, he couldn't change the laws himself, even though ostensibly these laws were designed to protect him. But I have a basic question that I would pitch. If this love for the king is sincere and universal amongst all Thais, why are such laws necessary? If that truly is the case, if there are some people who hate the king, they're a minority, so if that's the case, so why are such laws needed? It seems to me these laws come about from insecurity, a feeling of insecurity. And one of the main arguments in favour of the laws have been that there have been communist dictatorships in neighbouring countries like Vietnam. Well, I'm no fan of communism. I hate communism. But When you have no freedom of expression, that's another form of dictatorship, and no one can dispute otherwise. Now, the current military regime use these laws to persecute anyone that doesn't agree with them. Thailand is not a democracy, that is abundantly clear. So when I hear Thais saying that these laws are necessary to protect democracy, that's bizarre. How can you say that laws designed to jail people for having an opinion are protecting democracy? That's a complete contradiction. So the only thing I will say furthermore is that I'm sensitive to the situation. I know that many Thais are grieving, and I'm not gloating or anything like that. I appreciate that there is sincere grief among many people. But if anything comes out of I don't know who's going to succeed. I'm not sure what exactly the situation will be. As I understand it, the palace in Bangkok will make that announcement relatively soon about the succession. But there's going to be a year of official mourning. Now, that to me means a year of potential persecution and prosecution of 112 cases. That's very concerning because this is a war on free expression and free consciousness. Just to be clear about this to anyone who doesn't understand, this law is not targeting terrorists, it's not targeting violent people, it's not targeting criminals, it's targeting people who simply are perceived to have views that are critical of the monarchy. I'm not going to speak at great length about King Bhumibol's life. He was extremely wealthy, and his supporters say that he was extremely charitable. He'd done a lot of work in the countryside and so on. I don't live in Thailand. I can't comment in great detail about that, but I do know that you cannot have democracy with 112. And if that offends you, I don't care. I really don't care. I'm making this video in the UK. In my country, we have freedom of expression. And my concern is for those very brave Thai dissidents who are going to be facing real risk right now. So I just hope the situation remains calm. I do hope it's a smooth transition because you don't want an unstable situation. But the 112 laws need to go. If Thailand is truly a constitutional monarchy, there is no other constitutional monarchy in the world, whether it be the UK or Sweden or Denmark or Japan even, where you have such extreme sensitivity to perceived criticism. That is much more akin to absolute monarchies like Saudi Arabia and Morocco, or indeed North Korea. It's actually the personality cult is akin to North Korea in terms of the atmosphere of fear. So this is a provocative video. I'm trying to be sensitive. I don't want to provoke for the sake of it. These things have to be said. And I don't know if there'll be journalists out there brave enough to ask these questions on the BBC or CNN or Al Jazeera. But this is going to be a very critical point in Thailand. 70 years is a long time. So we'll see what happens. And finally, my message to Thai dissidents: stay strong, stay brave, but don't be reckless. There's no point in, you know, getting into confrontations with royalists. I would say there's no point in that right now because um, I hate 112, but I want you to be safe, you know. So that's some of my thoughts. Final point, the reason I'm blocking comments is because I've been targeted by extreme royalists before. These people are crazy. They threaten anyone, literally threaten anyone who doesn't agree with them. They are fascists, as far as I'm concerned. I'm talking about the extreme royalists, I'm not talking about everyone. I've seen what they're capable of, and I don't trust them for a second. That's why I'm going to block the comment section, because there's no point in me giving a platform to fanatical people who could compromise my cybersecurity, etc.